So Henry K has been on the feature match area a couple of times now, and we're looking forward to getting game 2 in here.
Game 2 looks like Henry won game 1 and Rob is on the play, a mulligan to 6 with a scry to the top.
Mardu Nahiri proving to be the blue-white control crusher,
yeah.
It would appear.
It's playing, the cards I've seen it playing the Bits Blossom and Phyrexian Arena. It's cards that once resolved are very difficult for the blue-white control deck to answer with their...
So as we see, sorry to interrupt Alfie, as we see Rob kept a 1-lander and then scry to the bottom and has unfortunately not drawn a second land after mulliganing to 6. Now it does appear that his hand is incredibly good. He's got 2 Path of Exiles, a Detention Sphere, a Minor Leak and a Snapcaster Mage, I believe. As well as that Wall of Omens.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's an incredibly good hand, but it doesn't look like Rob's had a second land yet.
So Henry's taken the Minor Leak. This might be showing that he's got one of these more resilient threats to play that he doesn't want Rob to be able to counter, such as a Bitter Blossom. Rob just turned 2 taps out for the Wall of Omens.
Well, now his Mana Leak's gone.
Yeah, his opponent knows his hand, so he knows that Rob doesn't have the counter spell for anything he might have to play, so there's no need to like hold up mana as to bluff.
I'm really looking forward to seeing Henry's deck perform again against the blue-white control deck. It's quite an interesting list he has and quite innovative. So, I mean, I have no idea how he ever beats Burn. That's my one concern.
Yeah, well, we've seen.
I'll play turn 2 Blossom, turn 3 Phyrexian Arena, and I'll die on turn 4 to Burn.
Yeah. I guess you've got to make some concessions.
So we'll see how he goes in the long run. I'm not certain this, but obviously these cards are very potent against control decks, like the one that Rob and like the one that Sam Rolfe both played.
So we see Henry casting a Lingering Souls. This is another potent one against the blue-white control decks. It makes up to 4 bodies just for 1 card. But Rob has something as potentially the best answer in his deck to it, the Ghostly Prism, forcing Henry to pay 2 for every attacking creature.
So Lingering Soul is obviously a powerful, almost 2-for-1 in that if Rob wants to answer the bodies individually, he has to do that. However, in this, he's sort of circumventing some of that by basically taxing Henry's mana, forcing him to pay 2 mana to attack him with each individual token, which obviously is a powerful interaction.
So if Henry wants to try and chip some damage in against Rob, it'll take him almost pretty much use up his entire turn. So we see him instead going towards a Collective Brutality. Looks like just the Duress mode being used, taking a Path to Exile, leaving just a Path, Snapcaster and a Detention Sphere in the hand.
So Henry is constrained on mana himself as he's not found a 4th land, while Rob has managed to dig his 2nd and 3rd ones off the top of his library. This Grim Lavamancer does present a threat that Rob has to deal with on a 1-for-1 basis, as it doesn't require attacking to deal damage, which is really relevant. He is, of course, going to Path to Exile it almost immediately.
You might see an activation of Grim Lavamancer. Oh no, Rob in fact just goes to Path to Exile his own Wall of Omens. It's because of the premium on lands because a control matchup often is decided by the person who's got the most mana. And so Rob choosing to spend his Path to Exile kind of a 1 mana, 2-for-1 Rampant Growth, where he gets to put a basic land into play. We see he draws a Supreme Verdict for his turn, another potential 2-for-1 or 3-for-1. So let's see if we can find out the modes on Colligan's command. I imagine it's maybe 2 to you and discard a card.
Oh, it was Supreme Verdict, not Detention Sphere. I do apologise.
I believe he drew the Supreme Verdict that turn.
Oh, really? I'm not sure he did. I think he drew E this turn and actually had Supreme Verdict in his hand for a while. We were mistaking it for a Detention Sphere.
Okay.
Both of which cards he could play. So hopefully Rob's drawn a Mana Leak here, and if he hasn't, we might be seeing some serious Kalitas action. As this card does attack for quite a bit more than just a 1-1.
Yeah, this is one that's worth putting the mana into to attack with Ghostly Prism, whereas maybe the 1-1 Spirit's only doing 1 for 2 mana isn't quite worth it at the moment for Henry, especially with Rob at 15 life. There we do see the Detention Sphere now taking down the Kalitas.
That is, yeah. He's been detained.
Yeah.
To be fair, he's a naughty fella.
True story. One of the losses from being a Mardu rather than a Jund or Abzan deck is that you lose the access to Abrupt Decay, which is kind of a catch-all answer to artifacts.
I actually think now we've got so many removal spells in Mardu. I actually think that the real loss is Tarmogoyf.
Yeah.
You lose a big beta. It's a real shame, and to some extent, Scavenging Ooze and it's not Grim Lavamancer, a Grim Flayer.
Yeah, just the ability to kill them quickly as soon as you turn the corner.
These decks rarely play Dark Confidant these days because they have to look to higher convert mana costs for their win cons.
And as we see, as rather than playing Dark Confidant, Henry has decided to go for Phyrexian Arena, as we see him resolve one right now.
Harder to remove, less painful. I like it.
This should be a pretty big problem for Rob, seeing as Rob is trying to get more card advantage and than Henry, and the Phyrexian Arena allowing him to draw 2 cards a turn means that Rob won't be able to keep up on cards.
Unlike in previous matchups, unlike in previous matchups we discussed, like against Burn, Henry's life total is less relevant here.
Yeah.
Rob is not pressuring it, and as you know, Sam showed, it's quite difficult for decks like Rob's to pressure it.
Yeah,
Henry's
Rob's more looking for a Elspeth or Gideon to finish the game off rather than just chip shots with smaller creatures.
Yeah, you're right there. I'm looking forward to this Nahiri doing some work against his control deck as well. However, it does appear that Rob's representing much counter magic.
Yeah, Rob's playing. I'm not sure the exact number of counter spells, but
Well, it's 2 Snapcaster Mage and 3 Mana Leak at the very least. I think that extends out to the additional 3 Cryptic Command as well. Although yeah, there we go. 3 Cryptic
I imagine
Command.
maybe he sided the negates in.
We've also got 2 Spell Snare if Henry wishes to try and resolve 2 drops. Although I would imagine it would not surprise me if they've come out.
One of the ways that Rob can keep up with the card advantage is something such as Sphinx's Revelation. We see a draw 3, gain 3 for 6 mana this turn, and some fairly interesting options here for Henry as a Gideon, a Crucible World, and a Snapcaster, none of which are actually options for the
sorceries.
Collective Brutality.
You're right. It wouldn't surprise me if Henry's now just casting spells to avoid having them in his hand, and so that he can activate Grim Lavamancer on a more regular basis.
So, what do you think? This Gideon seems like a particularly strong card in this matchup. It can stop Henry from pressuring Rob's life total, destroy creatures, and just beat down for 6 every turn.
Yes, I can appreciate where you're coming from. I do think that the -2 ability on Gideon is very powerful, except that the +2 ability on Gideon is very powerful, especially through Ghost of Prison, where it makes it difficult for your opponent to attack anyway. Rob punishing Henry there for mistapping his mana. That extra 2 damage might become relevant later in the game. Unfortunately, he did not leave up red for Grim Lavamancer and tried to rectify his mistake and had unfortunately passed priority in between the times.
What do you think of Crucible of Worlds trying to lock your opponent out of casting your spells?
Has got to be good against Henry's 3-colour mana base.
I mean,
I can't imagine as many basics.
Rob plays 4 Ghost Quarter and 1 Tectonic Edge, so should
And
be
how many
able to-
basics does the Mardu deck play?
The Mardu is currently playing
1 of each.
3 Swamp, 1 Plains and 1 Mountain. We see a Swamp and a Mountain already down there, so there's only 3 more left to fetch out, and it's maybe a bit of a slow kill, but this deck doesn't exactly ever play to the fastest.
So does Ghostly Prison say
Creatures can't attack
no,
you.
Ghostly Prison, creatures can't attack you, so they can attack Planeswalkers you control, I believe. I need to double check that. I'm sure we'll get the Oracle wording on that shortly, and it will be good to see. Henry's still here with 2 Nahiris in his hand, but it does seem like Rob's sort of semi-stabilising, and he still does have a access to Mana Leak.
Yeah, creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays 2 for each creature that he or she controls that's attacking you.
Doesn't matter because we're exiling it. That seems like a solid play. Gives Henry access to lots of attacks. I don't know if he'll choose to attack with the Grim Lavamancer or hold up this path to exile. I'd be interested to see that, since that actually he has to attack if he's going to combat.
Yeah, perhaps he should have waited until after combat before casting the Nahiri.
Yeah,
because
it's interesting.
Then he could choose not to attack with some of your
Grim
creatures.
Lavamancer. You have to attack Gideon. Yeah, we have to attack Gideon.
Yeah.
Anyway. Coming from that, there is a line of play there that meant that unfortunately can't be activated this turn. Interestingly, if Rob wants to attack Nahiri with Gideon, he's going to get punished here by Henry's path to exile by virtue of Henry's misplay.
So yeah, Snapcaster now targeting the Supreme Verdict. This is completely wiping down Henry's board. That's maybe a 0 on Gideon, but that is met with a path to exile.
Which is a powerful answer to that card, since he is indestructible and can't be dealt
Yeah, I
damage.
imagine that Rob was trying to take down the Nahiri, meaning that he could untap with a pretty much empty board and a Gideon in play.
Gideon. Henry remembering his upkeep triggers. Well done, Henry. Drawing another Nahiri, just in case. He's going to exile the detention sphere. I like this play a lot because you got having access to like Galatasaray again is, you know, really got to be a really important part of this, how the game plays out.
Although Kalita's not at its best in this matchup, seeing as Rob isn't playing very many creatures other than the walls, Snapcasters and Restoration Angels. So the exiling the creatures making the zombies isn't quite as frequent as it would be in maybe an aggro matchup such as Zoo. And neither is the lifelink, where Henry's life total is.
Well,
it's relevant to an extent, but
he
not
wants to keep it high enough so that he can regularly have life to pay to Friction Arena, but he doesn't actually mind losing a bit here and there. I think the Cartas is just a big beater, and it does kill Rob fairly quickly.
Snapcaster targeting the Sphinx's Rev, going to be revving for 4 this time, so Rob will be going up to 18 and drawing 4 more cards. We see multiple Lightning Helixes in Henry's hand. Lightning Helix, one of the key cards in a damage race, but we'll see whether this turns out to be a damage race or more of just a grinding value.
So I would imagine this Lightning Helix is going to get pointed at the Snapcaster Mage. However, I don't know if Henry's noticed the Celestial Colonnade there, and that's a really important part of this matchup. One of the nice things about blue-white is you have one of the best man lands. Oh, he's choosing not to cast Lightning Helix, instead playing a tapped Shock land.
Yeah, you see Henry fetching more and more of his basics, so that Rob could soon start leveraging that Crucible of Worlds to start being able to destroy pretty much all of Henry's lands. It's a slow kill, but it gets there in the end.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Henry employ that tactic before in the past in Legacy, just killing all of his opponent's lands so that they can't cast spells anymore.
So we see Colligan's command from Henry.
For me, this is the epitome of Jund, Colligan's command. This is the 2-for-1. I'll do this thing and this thing. It's like with this one card.
I get something back, or kill that, I get something back, or even just destroy an artifact if it's down there.
Yeah, it seems very powerful, and I do love all of the modes. I think it's really nice that you have access to that real effect in these mid-range decks. Definitely one of the reasons to be playing Mardu now.
Yeah.
You have access to the best one-drop removal spells, some of the more utilitous threats, some of the threats that have greater utility and can, you know, like Lingering Source and Bitter Blossom, that can go a bit more wide, as well as, Colligan's command. Yeah,
it's got a lot more of the... Although it seems weaker against some of the aggro decks. If you're playing against a field full of control, I think Mardu does seem the way forward in these black mid-range control decks that...
Did Henry forget to activate Nahiri?
Perhaps he just ticked her up and chose not to discard.
No, I think that it should be on 8 then. I think he forgot.
I think it is on 8, it's just the dice
Oh, the second die is... Oh my gosh, he doesn't it with the art. Yeah, I do apologise. Stream? So this could be a fairly large blowout here, as we're moving to the big dice. Wow. We're going to double Lightning Helix, and this might be a big blowout. This is really ballsy from Henry's perspective.
Choosing to counter and draw. So just talking about the classic 2-for-1s, that is counter draw. It's similar to Colligan's command. These commands do allow for a lot of 2-for-1s for these creatures. And we see a Ghost Quarter played by Rob.
Henry still drawing 2 cards a turn, so that double Lightning Helix doesn't seem horrendous. It would be really good to get this off the table, though.
Multiple Fatal Pushes drawn by Henry, and that Fatal Push does, despite Celestial Colonnade costing 5 mana to activate, Fatal Push it's still a converted mana cost 0 creature, so it can still be killed by a Fatal Push, even if they don't have Revolt.
Henry gaining life. Yeah, gaining more life with this Kitchen Sphinx.
Yeah, I mean, he'll now be taking 2 a turn just from his own enchantment, so he kind of needs to have some form of backup in case he starts to go too low.
Henry does have access to a lot more burn than Rob, obviously, having playing the red deck. We get to see one of the marquee cards of the new standard.
Fatal Push.
Yeah, I'm not sure how. I guess I like the flavour because you're like, it's a colonnade, and those things are tall and high, and they
and also flying.
Pushing it over. I think they're pushing it over. I don't like the flavour of it being. So we appear to be disenchanting. This is actual disenchant.
Disenchant on the
Phyrexian Arena, so he doesn't seem to mind his opponents.
And Crucible getting back the colonnade. Well, I guess if your opponent wants to push your colonnade of return, they can, but you just keep playing it. So what do you think of Rob disenchanting going for the friction arena rather than the bitter blossom?
So the Bitter Blossom is Rob's Crucible plus Colonnade lock sort of beats Bitter Blossom
Yeah, as he can.
eventually.
But Rob, he's kind of drawing to.
I think that Henry has to decide whether or not if he's going to discard this Nahiri to his Nahiri, or if he's going to. Oh, he can also exile his opponents. I need to double check Nahiri. Did he choose not to activate again?
The artifact has to be tapped for him to be able to exile.
I think he chose not to activate, which, considering you can just choose to discard no card. Oh no, it's discard a card and draw a card.
You may discard a card if you do draw a card.
Is it? So in that case, you definitely should have ticked up. Maybe he's.
Yeah, you may discard a card if you do draw a card. -2, exile target enchantment.
Artifact.
Tapped artifact or tapped creature.
So we can't kill our opponent's Crucible.
The flavour behind Nahiri is pretty good, seeing as she is meant to have brought Emrakul to Innistrad, and what we've seen in a lot of games is Nahiri brings along an Emrakul with her.
She does. I like the flavour. So Henry getting more life.
If you're Rob at the moment, I think the clock is maybe one of your main concerns, seeing as he's one game down, he has to win both this game and a game after this to take the match.
Yeah, I do think that this one, unfortunately, might end in a draw. We've got two absolute mid-range control deck slugfests here.
Grindiest of decks.
Rob just putting his Colonnade tapped. I'll just make this land.
Yeah, black tap target Colonnade.
Yeah, black tap, yeah, that's what it is, isn't it? Henry, now he has access to more and more 1/1s, he's going to be able to defend his Nahiri and hopefully, yes, do this.
Yeah, now we see Nahiri finding...
Oh wow, Rob's stupid because he has no flyers.
He has no answers to the Emrakul, so she just hits him for 15.
I apologise, I was talking about how this game could go long, and then that happened.
Finished right there. I guess all Rob could have done there was Cryptic Command to
So Henry K must be fist pumping after having played this matchup twice in a row.
Yeah,
it seems quite good for him.
It must be one of his more favourable matchups.
That Friction really doing a lot of work. I'm very impressed by that card. I'm playing this deck with we've seen a lot of spicy decks today, 4-color Cascading Legacy, Marta Proc just a moment ago. I think the deck I want to play is this Mardu Nahiri deck.
Yeah.
Henry seems like he's having a lot of fun. As my friends on Twitch chat pointed out, he's my hidden brother.
Playing
Henry.
the same deck that you've been playing recently
yeah,
as well?
I've been playing a bit of Mardu, but I've been much more low to the ground, playing like a few less lands.
Yeah, so we're pretty much coming to the end of round 6. I'm not sure if we've got time for any more of the games that are going on.
Yeah, I suspect we'll be going straight into
defeat.
the next round of Modern, round 7, which is, second last round. This is the time when the players that are going to be in our top 8 begin emerging, and we get to decide, which players are going to be battling it out, playing the last 4 rounds of Legacy.
Yeah, it seems that we're looking at maybe the 6 and 2 it should be in, and maybe some of the 5 and 3s, and obviously if you go 7 and 1, because there's no undefeated players left.
Rob Campbell's our last undefeated player.
Push the
now at 5 and 1.
10 and 0 anymore.
No. Yeah. Rob just commenting on how horrendous the matchup is.
Complaining about the matchup, blaming the matchup.
Oh, maybe he's just not a good enough player. Who knows?
I know.
Who knows? Friend of the stream, Rob Catton there, proving that unfortunately, even when you're undefeated, just sometimes you get Emrakul'd.
Yeah.
So
we're back.
We are indeed back. Luke and Alfie here at IQ Games Huddersfield at the Northern League Invitational. Looking forward to our next round of Modern.
Yeah, so now that everyone's taken at least one loss, we'll start to see there'll be a lot of people who are playing. It's a lot tenser now. People are kind of playing for the top 8.
Yeah.
Or playing for the
People's
highest
dreams
seedings.
are realities.
Yeah.
One of the nice things about the way we've been doing the prize structure is working out such that Barney at 7th City Collectibles, by the way, shout out to 7th City Collectibles, so you can see at the bottom of the screen down here. They're a great set of guys, and they've been working really hard to
helping us out with the...
helping Northern League specifically out, and helping us out with the coverage a little bit too. It's important to know that they've given such prize structure, though, which makes it available to both, specifically, I hate this again, format but Modern Specialists and Legacy Specialists both had access to a big prize pot, assuming they could go 4-0 in their respective format. or
So-
indeed 3-1.
Yeah.
And so they've given out special cash prizes in store credit, for those players that have done really well, like Rob, that went undefeated in
Yeah.
the legacy portion, like Henry, who went 3-1 in the legacy portion.
Yeah, and it's now 2-0 in the modern.
Yeah, and who's now 2-0 in the modern. So these players, have access to this sort of prize pot, which is very nice of 7th State collectables, and that's without mentioning the extra top 8 prizes. And we, of course, are doing the structure from the Pro Tour Kaladesh.
Yeah, where the 6th to 8th will play each other as a quarterfinals 1, as should we say, and then
Yes.
the winners of those will play the third 4, and the
Yes.
quarterfinals 2 will play the semi-finals against the
with
first and second.
Yeah, so it essentially means that seeded players get access to a lighter journey through the top 8. I think one of the problems, one of the things that's most feel bad, and I'm sure people at home have felt this as well, and I felt it as well, coming first in a Swiss and then losing your
Yeah,
quarterfinals
just give people
really
an
rough.
incentive to win, I guess.
Yeah, well,
in the, Swiss.
also, if you're gonna it gives people towards the end of the Swiss, and it's good for coverage. We're gonna have people in the top tables like Rob Catton, like Henry Kay, who are gonna want to be playing their last games to get that first spot, to get that bye,
and to get
in the top 8,
4 wins in their specific
and
format.
and also with the prize pot to get their specific prize pots. I know that we're looking forward to round 8. I'm sure you guys are at home. What are you expecting to see then in the top tables? We've seen some blue-white control. We've seen
I'm
some
hoping to see
Mardu,
maybe
Nahiri.
some of the more aggressive decks.
I want to see Affinity.
Yeah,
I want
that's
to get
what
some Affinity on table. I'm
Affinity
sure we can
or
do that for you guys at home.
Because we see a fair bit of the Infect in the Legacy portion. Of course, those cards, if they're powerful enough to be played in Legacy, of course they're powerful enough to be played in Modern.
Just to make you feel bad, it's not going to be aggro. It's going to be Abzan versus Lantern. So Lantern, a bit of a bugbear of the format.
Yeah.
Like we talked a bit about.
As an aggro player myself, just seeing the Lantern control deck making it to the top slightly saddens me, but I guess if they're winning, they deserve the coverage.
Yeah, hey, got a lot of respect for both of these players who both won or came first and second in these invitationals with us and have done a lot of work in the modern and legacy packs portions of these previous tournaments. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they brought to the table today. This is a straight up Abzan deck, so we're looking maybe Siege Rhinos, maybe Bobs and Goifs, not your company that we saw Joe playing earlier on.
Tarmogoyf, Lingering Souls, Liliana of the Veil.
Yeah, a more low to the ground, sort of mid-range aggro deck, and then Lantern. And I believe I can hear Mark in the background, which Mark Ayler, who was playing Miracles earlier on today. We've seen him on camera already. Is that right? Either way, the feature match area will be coming shortly, and this Lantern deck is going to be incredibly interesting for us to talk about on the commentary. And first of all, I would like to preface this with, the deck's incredibly complicated, and I do apologise if we make some mistakes, because the specific lines of play that we can see and that players on the table can see are often quite different, especially when what Lantern does is it stops the Lantern player being in the think box.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden your opponent has this weird sub-game where they have to work out how many outs they have and whether or not they're likely to get outs and whether or not they should scoop sooner. We talked a little bit with Stuart
playing
on this.
with Lantern is getting to the key card, which, although it's maybe called Lantern, I'd say the key card is Ensnaring Bridge more than anything else, which says your creatures can't attack you if their power is greater than the number of cards you have in hand. So Lantern just tries to empty its hand straight away, and so that creatures essentially they can't be attacked. And once you can't be attacked, it narrows down what can kill you. I mean, Lantern.
It goes from creatures and burn spells to just burn spells.
And mill.
Abzan not having a lot of burn spells might struggle. So we'll see how this goes. It does have access to Abrupt Decay,
which is an answer.
It might have sideboard access to Stony Silence.
And Stony Silence is probably what he's going to be looking for post-board. But
It's incredibly powerful.
I think he's very highly relying on the discard and the Abrupt Decay, to try and get rid of the artifacts that he's playing. This is another time where you'd see the black-green decks being just this Abrupt Decay being the catch-all. It destroys pretty much every threat in the format. I mean, there are 4+ threats, but they're fewer and far between than just 1, 2, and 3 drops.
Yeah. So we'll see how this goes in the long run. We're going to send it straight down to the feature match area where players are ready to start up. They've drawn their opening 7s and are ready to do battle.